Hello, Dr. Coker here, and this is the story of Greenshade from the Elder Scrolls Online. This is part 4 of the Aldmeri Dominion series. Previously in Grotwood, after Queen Irenne's ratification ceremony, she asks you to meet her in Marbruk to ensure that the Staff of Magnus is secure. This is what brings you to Greenshade. When you arrive in Marbruk, Captain Sarandil tells you that the staff is safe in a vault below the city, then takes you to see it. You go through the Mages Guild, and he shows you some of the rarities they've collected. When you reach the staff, you approach it up close and it vanishes. They've been robbed, and that staff was an illusion, so you ask if there have been any other visitors recently.
No, the vault is off limits to all, but wait. Viceroy Pelidil recently toured the vault.
The two of you return to the Mages Guild Grand Hall. The captain tells you he's questioned the guards and confirms that Pelidil is the only other recent visitor, and he adds that he was always devoted to Prince Naemon. You offer to inform the queen, who has just arrived.
Honor and praise, my friend. Do you have the Staff of Magnus?
You tell her that Viceroy Pelidil stole it, so she asks for your aid, and you speak to Razumdar next to her. Raz mentions that the Wood Elves here are not subject to King Camoran, who's joined the Dominion, but they claim to obey a spirit called the Wilderking, and they mock the Dominion. He asks you to help by speaking with Hazazi, a soldier sent to negotiate with the Bramblebreach clan, while he hunts for the staff. Hazazi expresses frustration at the Wood Elves who only dance and make jokes while he tries to negotiate with them. You offer to help, and he tells you to have at it. You meet with Trethane Neriel, who says the Wilderking doesn't care about the Dominion, so the Valenwood Elves won't bother swearing allegiance to them. When you ask her if you can speak to the Wilderking, it doesn't sound like a simple matter, but she's willing to help if you first drive off a band of wood orcs that are pestering them. She asks you to plant special seeds that will spawn lurchers to kill them, and further, asks you to kill their chief personally. On the way, you encounter a high elf woman named Aranias, who tells you that the Wood Elves were rude to her, and you tell her you've been asked to hunt some orcs.
She did? That's funny, because Ander and I offered to drive the orcs away and she turned us down. I don't know, I'm beginning to suspect this is some elaborate Bosmer trick and the whole village is laughing at us when we're not looking.
She's also here to meet with the Wilderking, but her purpose is a scholarly pursuit. Before you depart from her, she gives you a tip about using a local plant to camouflage yourself from the orcs. Her companion Ander tells you that the orc chieftain always has a shaman by his side, and it might be wise to kill the shaman first. After killing the chieftain, you return to the Trethane. She praises your work and admits you've surprised her. As promised, she tells you how to petition the Wilderking, but warns that it's not guaranteed he'll grant an audience. You travel to the designated place, and the Wilderking appears almost instantly.
Welcome to my court, outsider. Since you entered my domain, I have watched your actions with keen interest. You have been generous with my people and more patient than I expected. But I still cannot gather one thing. Why have you come?
You tell him you're here to negotiate on behalf of the Aldmeri Dominion, but he doesn't want to align with them, as that would only create new enemies for his people. You claim that they are only our common enemies, so he asks you to show him. He wants you to touch a nearby pillar, which will reveal an apparition of one of your enemies. As you do, a ghost of advisor Norian appears, one of the men who betrayed the queen in Aradun. After slaying him, you tell the Wilderking that the Veiled Heritants are enemies of the Dominion, but he knows one of their members and wants to show you. The Wilderking displays a memory revealing that Aranias is a Veiled Heritants member who was sent here to kill him, but he thinks she's here for a greater purpose and is willing to meet with her. He says your fate, his fate, and Aranias' fate are all intertwined, and that you need to speak with a wood elf named Marun to learn how her story began. Spinner Marun says he's been expecting you, and he tells you that you will enter her story. He says you'll play the part of a trusted friend who will change the person she becomes.
Have a seat by the fire, and let me know when you're ready to hear the story. Remember, ask nicely.
As you focus on the fire, you are transported to this story of her past.
I'm so glad you could come. My parents will be back tonight, and I was afraid I'd have to face them alone again.
She wants to enjoy some free time with you, and she mentions that everyone's afraid of her ever since she raised up the land under the sea and smashed a vacant ship. You start by racing her to the lighthouse. Once you meet her there, she says that she can feel the land is in pain and her farm is being invaded. The two of you rush in to help. After slaying the bandits, you speak with her. She's upset about the damage to her farm, but more so at the fact that everyone wants to make use of her special abilities. She even suspects you for a moment, but she apologizes and thanks you for helping save her farm, then asks you to meet her at the manor. On the way, the spinner Marbruk appears and tells you that she was vulnerable to outside influences because she was always bitter with everyone fearing her abilities. He now wishes to show you a scene where she was once excited about her newfound skills. In this story, you stand and watch as she tells her parents that she made the entire island they now stand on. They only scold her and complain about getting their shoes wet.
Gifted with a rare and powerful ability, Aranias tried in vain to win her parents' affection.
Marbruk now wishes to show you two more events. The first is at a lighthouse where Aranias is being scolded again. Here you can see a shipwreck on broken land away from shore. She raised this land from the seabed and accidentally destroyed the ship, but thankfully no people were hurt. In the next scene, her parents tell her they are leaving for Somerset to find help for her. As directed by Marbruk, you change into a nicer outfit, then meet her at the manor, still within the story. You speak to Aranias, who tells you there's a gathering of people.
There are so many people. And look, it's High Kin Lady Estri. Why is she here? I bet my parents want me to show off my powers. I thought they were bringing me a teacher or something.
She asks you to eavesdrop and see what they've got planned for her. Listening in on a few conversations, you hear gossip about Ander's abilities as well as Aranias's, and about a demonstration for High Kin Lady Estri. You find Ander nearby, standing over an injured wood elf. You speak with Ander, but when he finds out that you're not allied with the Veiled Inheritance, he attacks. The Wood Elf tells you they've taken his wife, so that the Rock Witch can kill her, probably referring to Aranias. The Wood Elf dies, then Marbruk appears again.
You killed Ander? That's not supposed to happen.
But he says this is just a story and won't change the present. In fact, he says in the present, Ander is with Aranias to ensure she kills the Wilderking, and he's supposed to kill her if she fails. Marbruk still wants you to finish the story, so you return to the manor. At the manor, High Kin Lady Estri has the Bosmer's wife, who pleads for her life. Estri asks Aranias to kill her, and she's ready to do it. You reason with her and talk her out of it.
I am stronger than this. I won't murder an innocent to prove I can, no matter who demands it. The Veiled Inheritance won't control my destiny. I will. I can do this, and I shall.
You are then removed from the story and appear back in the present. Spinner Marbruk says your involvement made so many changes to the story, and perhaps Aranias is capable of betraying the Veiled Inheritance in the real world. He says at this moment, her and Ander assault the Wilderking's throne, so he urges you to go to Greenheart to stop them.
Finest merchandiser out.
As you approach, the Wilderking appears and says his power is fading and he will die soon. Even now, he trusts her and asks you to find her because she may need help against Ander. As you get closer, the Wilderking appears again and says Aranias is beginning to understand her true purpose. He tells you to enter the throne tunnels. You find Aranias and she remembers you from the story, even though your participation did not alter the course of history. She feels the pain of the forest and has a sense of connection to it, so she asks you to help her stop Ander.
Will there be no end to these interruptions?
After killing Ander, you enter the throne of the Wilderking and speak with him.
Aranias was guided here to take my place, but I believe you were guided here to assure her ascension. If you had not come, I fear Ander would have killed us both, leaving the Valenwood wild and vengeful. Many lives would have been lost.
He says he will return to the earth and Aranias will now become the Wilder Queen. You find Aranias, who's anxious about this change she's about to undergo. She's afraid to lose her former self and her memories, but acknowledges that her memories with you are only partially real. But she has decided to do it, so she asks you to place the former Wilderking's crown in the garden at the top of the tower.
Everything is so very different. It's like I'm no longer a single physical form, but my being is spread out across the forest. Aranias is slipping away. You are my friend, though, whoever I become. Will you stay for just a moment?
She thanks you dearly, then says she agrees to swear allegiance to the Aldmeri Dominion. Then she says that the Veiled Heritance has stolen the Staff of Magnus, and you should begin your search for it in Woodhearth. When you arrive in Woodhearth, a Dominion soldier greets you and says Razumdar wishes to speak with you. You find Raz nearby, and he says Pelidil is the new leader of the Veiled Heritance, and he definitely came here after stealing the staff. He has a crazy plan, but for now he asks you to speak with Trethane Ferial to get more info on Pelidil's allies. Ferial says she thinks there's a traitor among the Thalmor, not a Bosmer. The Thalmor are High Elf representatives for the Dominion. She's also helped spread rumors that the Queen is planning a visit as part of Raz's plan to draw out an assassin. Raz will have illusion magic cast on himself and pretend he's the Queen.
Very convincing. But is the illusion applied everywhere? Perhaps this one should take a moment in private to double check. Yes?
Raz looks good in this form, but then Raz always looks good. Queen Irene could maybe learn a thing or two from this one.
You tell him he looks like the Queen but needs to learn to speak like her, and he agrees. Then he says he's ready to be bait for this assassin in the Imperial Underground. Thalmor officer Asteriel is there waiting for the Queen. She throws some sort of flash bomb and vanishes. Raz's disguise is broken and he's wounded, so you run in pursuit of Asteriel. On the way, you find a note from Pelidil that says the Veiled Heritance is planning something bigger once the Queen is dead. Asteriel gets away, and you speak with Raz again. He says the Heritance may have a large force gathered to attack Woodhearth. The two of you return to the Trethane.
If what Razumdar says is true, the city of Woodhearth owes you a debt. Of course, if the city's attacked and destroyed, that won't be worth much. Maybe we can prevent that. The cat said you found orders from Vicereeve Pelidil. Can I see them?
She says it's hard to believe Asteriel was the traitor, but that we need to find her to get to the bottom of this. A high elf named Oramin is preparing to confront her. You speak with him, and he says the thought of Asteriel being a traitor is preposterous, but anyway, you join him to help find her. At Asteriel's house, you find her corpse, and she's clearly been dead for some time. Aramin is happy to clear the Thalmor's name, then says we should speak with Raz because he has found something. Raz has discovered a secret door behind the bookcase. You find that it leads to a tunnel, and in the tunnel you find another letter from Pelidil. This one reveals that the imposter posing as Asteriel was actually her sister. You and Raz continue through the tunnel.
You lead.
You find Loyarl, Asteriel's sister, and she's mortally wounded. She says Pelidil lured her here and had her assassinated. She tells you that he plans to conquer all of Valenwood, so you ask if the Veiled Heritance is truly that large of a force.
Of course not. They're just one prong of the mighty trident with which Pelidil will smite the Dominion. He signed a treaty with the Malma, and with the Staff of Magnus he's going to raise an army of undead. Yes. Your days are numbered, all right.
She wants no help and has no regrets as she dies. You return to the Trethane. Raz already told her about the Marmur and plans to raise an undead army. She says she'll ready her defenses while you head to Seaside Sanctuary where the enemy will be landing.
Those frozen faces.
At Seaside Sanctuary, you meet with Major Sirenway, who is very happy to see you. She informs you that the Marmur have taken hostages, but they've determined their location, so she wants you and Raz to rescue them and kill their commanders. After you've accomplished this, she asks you to light a beacon. She's expecting reinforcements from Marbruk and they will charge in at your signal. You speak with Raz and the two of you agree to enter the city, kill their commanders, and rescue the hostages. Once that's done and you head to the lighthouse, you find a victim of brutal treatment. He says Pelidil captured them, mutilated them, and ripped out their eyes. Pelidil summoned Prince Naemon from the dead, but it didn't go as he planned.
When Naemon came back, he wasn't the same. Sounded like some evil spirit was speaking through him. He spat in Pelidil's face. Then he just left. Pelidil was furious. He stormed out a little later. That's all I was able to hear.
As he dies, you rush ahead and light the beacon. Then you descend back into the city and find Major Sirenway. She's having a great time killing sea vipers, but she's concerned that Pelidil might escape by sea. She tells you to speak with Captain Jamila at the docks.
Off we go!
Jamila greets you, and since Pelidil has already set to sail, she agrees to pursue him by boat. You quickly catch his boat and fend off attacks from sea vipers and a sea serpent. Then you board the enemy ship and kill Vicereeve Pelidil. Back at Jamila's ship, Jamila says this is cause for celebration, so together you return to shore.
By John and Jode, I wasn't sure we make it out of that one, but you never cease to impress. Things are always exciting when you're around, it seems.
Major Sirenway is pleased as well.
Tales of today's battle will undoubtedly be told for generations. When soldiers of the Aldmeri Dominion face impossible odds, they will not retreat. They will say, "Remember the Battle of Seaside Sanctuary," and they will press on to victory.
But there's still the matter of undead Prince Naemon on the loose, and Sirenway asks you to inform the Queen.
One wonders how long their isolationist ways.
My friend!
The Queen praises your work and says there's much left to do. Sure enough, a messenger barges in and says Naemon's undead army is assaulting Drilladon Pass, so you head there next. You meet a scout at the pass who's horrified by what she's seen, and she tells you to speak with Bodring. He asks if you can help a few soldiers who are stranded, and you agree to it. You reach them, trapped in a tunnel, and speak with Main Akuzri. He says he saw Prince Naemon with his own eyes, and they can't figure out what he's planning. He advises you to work with a wood elf named Indanir to uncover his plan. Indanir doesn't want an army to march through the forest against Naemon. He'd rather the two of you determine his intentions. He says an undead shade inhabits Naemon's form, and it's not really him. Indanir wants to start by communing with ancient cursed spirits. He says the torch bugs will lead you to the remains of the cursed dead.
Off it goes. Follow it to find the skulls and then meet me at the stone table.
Then you place the remains on an ancient stone table. After communing with them, Indanir figures out what the Shade is up to.
I suspected something like this. It explains what we've seen. The Shade of Naemon does not seek destruction, it seeks transformation. We need to close these shadow rifts quickly. First though, I promise their souls release.
He lets you speak with each spirit and decide who to release, if any. With that finished, Indanir says we need to find these shadow rifts and close them. You find them in the caves below.
Leave the shadow rifts alone or you will suffer. You go too far. Now you will experience the Shadowwood for yourself.
After closing them all, the two of you are transported to the Shadowwood. Indanir ponders the situation and decides it's most likely the key returning to home is at the ancient stone table.
You're about to become a permanent resident.
Killing the servant of Naemon returns you to the real forest. Indanir says it's critical to confront the Shade of Naemon in this reality. He asks you to report to Marbruk first. You find Bodrin, who's happy to say the undead are retreating, but he also heard that Naemon has been raised as a lich. He then tells you that Indanir can most likely be found in one of 2 blighted forests in the region. Sure enough, you find him at the Variant Morass. He says the blight is spreading to more parts of the Valenwood, and in this region there are standing stones that may be of use.
Long ago, before the Green Pact, the standing stones were used to protect the people from the aggression of the forest. If we can activate the stones, it could prevent the trees from spreading the blight to anyone else.
You enter the forest and encounter feral Bosmer who are beyond saving. After activating the 3 stones, Engineer realizes the corruption here is coming from the Eldest, so you head in that direction. When you get there, you ask what exactly the Eldest is.
It is an ancient plant, a strangler. It's been here from the beginning. It's the lifeblood of the forest in this area. If the Eldest is truly tainted, then regardless of the Green Pact, we must slay it.
Then he says he doesn't think this will actually violate the Green Pact since it will save the forest. After killing it, a voice tells you that you cannot have the heart of the Eldest, and you are transported to the Shadowwood again. Engineer feels that the Eldest's heart is the nexus between the 2 planes. He asks you to kill the corrupted tree spirits while he searches for the heart. After killing them, you find Engineer and the Servant of Naemon once again. Again, killing the servant transports you back to the real plane. Engineer says the Blight has been stopped and he has the heart which can be used to plant a new Eldest. Moving on to the other corrupted forest in the region, you encounter a wood elf ranger named Nara. She says the undead in this region were members of the cruel Blackroot clan in life. She also mentions that Engineer has made his way here, so you seek him out. You find him nearby, and he already has a plan.
The Blackroot clan warriors are even more bloodthirsty in death than they were in life. But there are also other spirits here, glimmers from the past, crying out for help. I think they're trying to show us something. We need to watch them.
With Engineer, you stand in places where phantom scenes of the past play out before your eyes. You learn that the leader of the Blackroot clan lost his bow, and that the villagers poisoned themselves just to poison the Blackroot clan. In the present, the Blackroot general's bow has been stolen again.
From what I gathered, one of Naemon's servants has stolen General Malgoth's bow, and compels the Blackroot clan to fight by the right of theft. What we need to do is steal the general's bow back, and then we can release him from his vows.
You begin the search by investigating the site of the general's remains.
You would steal that which has already been stolen, then enter the Shadowwood and seek it.
As you search the remains, you are ported back to the Shadowwood, so you return to Engineer for next steps.
We're back in the Shadowwood. I had hoped not to visit here again. But if this is where he is holding the general's bow, then it's just as well. We need to find the shade to get the bow back.
He asks you to close the shadow rifts from the inside while he searches for the shade.
You will soon join us and fight at Malgoth's side.
Then you find the Servant of Naemon once again and kill him. He drops the bow and the 2 of you are returned to the real plane. Engineer says you must return the bow to the general and then you are given a choice. You can either set him and his clan free to return to their rest or compel them to fight by your side against Naemon. The spirit of the general appears, you return his bow, then make your choice. Then we speak with Engineer, who says you've accomplished much, but Naemon still remains to be found. He suggests the 2 of you split up and look for signs of corruption. Outside Hectaheim, you find Queen Irene. She says Naemon has been raised to a lich, and he's inside the ruin behind her, which puts them in a bad situation.
Very. According to Indaner, Hectaheim guards the heart of Valenwood. He believes Naemon is corrupting it, and this corruption turns any soldiers we send forth feral. Indaner knows more. He waits for you at the gate.
You speak to Engineer at the gate, and he says the corrupting power is so strong here, it might corrupt the 2 of you. He's learned how to enter the Shadowwood, and he thinks the 2 of you would be safe from the corruption there, somewhat ironically. You enter the Shadowwood, then enter the ruins. Inside, you find that the Chamber of the Heart is guarded by an eyelid barrier, but Engineer knows how to open it. He asks you to collect 3 Welkin stones from the ruins.
Good. This should work.
In the Chamber of the Heart, you finally encounter the Shade of Naemon. Indenir says the heart needs to be purged of corruption, and he offers to use his body as a vessel to contain the corruption as it's purged from the heart, which will kill him.
Ifrit, guide me. I hope this works.
Once Indenir dies, Main Akuzri approaches and you tell him everything that happened. But suddenly there's a commotion as Indenir's body ascends.
The Velyn Heart. It saved Indenir.
You find that the Velyn Heart has chosen Indenir as the new Sylvanar.
Could it be true? Me? The Sylvanar?
He accepts his new role, and you head outside to inform the Queen. First you find Raz.
Queen Irene has already decided to blame Pelidil and the Inheritance for this treachery. But Raz knows she loved her brother in her own high elf noble, emotionally stunted way. Tell her, but gently.
Then Main Akuzri.
How did this one miss it? Talking to torchbugs, healing the forest, seeing invisible spriggans. I thought he was just another mad Bosmer. Turns out, I was the mad one, and Indenir was the Sylvanar all along.
Then finally, the Queen.
It is well. The funeral rites and honors may proceed as originally planned. My brother was a pawn of the Veiled Inheritance, you understand? The mistreatment of his royal body only makes their treason the worse. Now, what of the Staff of Magnus?
You return the staff to her. The new Sylvanar approaches and bows to the Queen, but she insists on bowing to him. Then her soldiers follow suit.
Your new Sylvanar.
Then she says the new Sylvanar must marry the Green Lady, as the two must become one. She asks you to travel to Velyn Harbor in Malabal Tor to make preparations. And that's the end of the story of Greenshade. I hope you found this useful. Stick around on this channel. Soon I'll be making the next video in this series, the story of Malabal Tor. Until next time.